Hello and welcome back. I'm Oscar Sherlief and you're watching the news from Kazakhstan. During the Friday's hearing on the trial of Zhanaozian violence, Abdirasul Uteshev, the former deputy head of the local internal affairs department, said policemen had to defend themselves against attacking hooligans. Supposedly, the crowd armed with rocks, axes and Molotov cocktails posed a real threat to the officers. Case victims strongly disagreed with this position.
Everything they're saying in the courtroom is a lie. They're never telling the truth. Those who have access to guns have the power. They can tell their own story. They just shot down everyone. Why didn't they use rubber bullets? They were shooting as if they were being attacked by Nazis. Abdirasul Uteshev says that besides a pistol, he also had an assault rifle, but failed to explain why other special defense techniques were not used. Uteshev could not say who gave the order to open fire, but noted that had they not been allowed to use firearms, the situation would have been worse. According to him, the police were doing what they had to do. When asked who gave the order to open fire and who was in charge of the operation, Uteshev answered without thinking that the group commander was Kabdegali Utigaliyev, the current ex-deputy head of the Mangistau regional DIA. He was wearing plain clothes and he was the one giving orders to open fire for self-protection purposes. Officers who were questioned after Uteshev repeated the testimony, emphasizing the fulfillment of their duties. Traffic police officers in the region, for reasons unknown, were issued service weapons by the Zhanaozian DIA. Now they all can't remember when the weapons were handed back. The first deputy head of Mangistau regional DIA said during the questioning that out of 28 assault rifles issued, 8 were not officially checked out. What Uteshev is trying to say is that they didn't do this based on the order, but based on some norms and instructions. This way he's trying to avoid naming certain military officials. I will never believe the deputy head of the Internal Affairs Department would personally decide to give an order to open fire at civilians. The big political issues are definitely involved.
The trial of Zhanaozian oil field workers has moved to the stage of reviewing case materials. In total, the case was supplemented with 93 volumes of investigation protocols.
The first case volume consists of protocols and investigative measures as well as a photo spreadsheet. Attorney noted that the first page of the volume includes a sentence that was corrected with a pen and suggested using the original copy. The judge then explained the reason for the correction and ruled to add extra materials to the fourth volume, which contained added evidence from the National Security Committee. It appears that NSC was wiretyping Rosa Taletayeva's phone conversations since 2011. Previously, several videos made on December 16 were shown during the trial, as well as footage shot during the investigation. Trial observers stated that these videos seem rather confusing and don't make any sense. The investigator enters the room, takes the document that had been already compiled and asks to sign it. Why is the document ready if everything was investigated in the right way? This is just a general overview of the events at the square. Nothing specific is said there. All these videos are confusing. There is nothing specific there, just like the police video showing children writing an essay in the classroom.
The ex-leader of Zhanaozian Internal Affairs Department continued testifying on Friday during the trial of the former head of the local temporary detention facility. Kozhaev was summoned at the request of the defense attorney Bazarov, who said previously her testimonies contradict each other. Kozhaev claimed to give Temirov a spoken order to detain people, but never asked for their hospitalization. During questioning, the defendant explained he initially refused to accept the detained people into the facility, but was forced to do so by his superiors. However, on Friday, Kozhaev contested Temirov's claim that the defendant refused to fulfill his orders.
During the recent interrogation, when they faced each other, it was obvious that Kozhaev gave Temirov directions which were not legal. Temirov confirmed Kozhaev's words. This means that Kozhaev must also face charges on the case together with Temirov. It was getting really noisy in the courtroom as the process was following its course. The defendant kept interrupting the victim's attorney, not letting him finish the question. The judge had to step in order to call Temirov to order. The attorney Bazarov demanded that the defendant's pretrial home arrest restriction be changed to prison arrest while the process is still in progress. Although following Temirov's father and defendant's apologies made to the victim's attorney, Bazarov withdrew his claims regarding putting the defendant behind bars. The public is well aware that middle-class citizens cannot be blamed for the tragic events that take place in our society. The top officials who are presiding in Astana should be blamed for them. I believe that this is the beginning of a big trial where specific names will be dropped.
On Friday, activists of Kazakhstan's socialist movement revealed new details of the Zhenozen tragedy during a press conference in Moscow, Russia. Ainur Kurmanov claims it is now clear why the authorities were so brutal in their reprisal of striking oil field workers.
According to Kurmanov, as early as November, the Workers' Pay Group adopted a resolution that consisted of both economical and political demands. The resolution called the workers in Kazakhstan to organize an overall strike with demands for the government and President Nazarbayev's resignation. The workers took a mutual decision to organize a rally on December 16. The resolution text was printed out for the press, although there were no names of those who signed under it. The date of its creation was not there either. We are going to disclose the contents of the document in question. It's now a historical document, and we think it was the main motive for opening fire at the protest participants. We did not disclose the document fearing that it might harm the strike leaders and participants, although considering that the trial is coming to an end, we believe that the time has come to make this document known to public. The main reason for the massacre was to prevent the strike movement from spreading all over Kazakhstan.
Eduard Agay, the head of Kazakhmys Corporation, arrived in Almaty on Friday to clarify the situation with the enterprise. Agay said there is no tension in the region, while the salaries of most employees were raised 30% on May 1st.
Linking Zhenozen and Zhezkazgan is totally unacceptable, says Kazakhmys Corporation Chief Executive Officer Eduard Agay, who arrived in Almaty to report that the demands of oil workers were fulfilled and starting next month they will be entitled to salary increase by 30%. Thus, the wage fund of the enterprise employing 72,000 people will increase from $27 to $40.5 million. Speaking of Zhenozen again, it's a completely different story, which involves 700 workers who have not been paid for 7 to 8 months. For us, it is unacceptable. During the 2008 crisis, we haven't fired a single person and instead sent about 6,000 employees on paid vacation, although we could have fired them quite legally. For many, Agay's statements were perceived as a response to the claims of Zhezkazgan public activists. Just a week ago, Zhenartu trade union representative Naila Chukina and the chief editor of Молодежная Gazeta newspaper, Berik Jakiparov, told reporters that the workers were anticipating the salary increase despite the undergoing professional evaluation, and the qualification assessment procedures are seen as violating the labor code. Workers have appealed to us regarding the salary increases. The matter is that their salaries haven't been changed for the last 3 years. Interestingly, on May 3rd, a video appeal of Zhezkazgan heating plant employees appeared on the internet, showing workers asking the president to respond to their situation with low wage rates. We are also citizens of this country, and we want the president to consider our problems regarding the salaries. We want to address our problems to him personally. While showing concern about the social tensions, saying there is no ground for them to increase in the region, the enterprise leadership had initiated the creation of a new trade union. In the meantime, the idea of launching a trade union that's going to be loyal to the employer received criticism from the International Labour Committee member Ainur Kurmanov, who believes that only independent organizations may be effective in solving labor-related issues. At the moment, Agay himself in the employee capacity had initiated the formation of his own corporate trade union. This must be a joke. The third union is being created by the workers themselves under supervision of our national Zhenartu trade union. And it's clear that even employees see Agay's initiative as nothing but an obstacle created to confront the establishment of the independent Zhenartu trade union within Kazakhmys Corporation. Meanwhile, Kazakhmys had officially informed that more than 30,000 workers underwent professional evaluation, of which more than 97% passed the test successfully. However, the management had made it clear right away that remaining employees will not be fired. They may just keep the same positions without neither reduce or increase of wage rates.
A well-known journalist, Gennady Benditsky, is planning to leave the popular Kazakhstan newspaper Vremya, explaining his decision by the recent leadership change in the publication. Benditsky was one of Vremya's founders and broke numerous stories, including the infamous Horgas case. A few days ago, Lev Tarakov, the former chief editor of state-run newspaper Lita, assumed leadership of Vremya, replacing Marat Asipov.
I'm well aware that changes like that happen for a reason, and I understand perfectly that a situation might occur when I will be asked to do things that I don't want to do, or there might be some things I'll really want to do, and I'll be advised not to do them. All I want is a comfortable work environment. I guess this situation is forcing me to start looking for a new job.
The prosecution of people who took part in the dissenters' rally on April 28 continues in Almaty. Pensioner Grigory Arkhangelsky was fined on Friday for addressing his concerns to the authorities.
Grigory Arkhangelsky was found guilty of committing a misdemeanor under Part 1 of Article 373 of the Code of Administrative Violations of Republic of Kazakhstan. He will be penalized for 20 MCIs, which equals to $218. On April 28, the Almaty resident happened to be downtown, where he saw a large gathering of people who talked about their most important concerns. He decided to speak up as well. A week later, it turns out that anyone can be brought to trial for publicly expressing personal views. On May 1st, the summons was delivered to his house. Today, the judge Nurjan Baykirdinov convicted the retired man upon charges of taking part in an unsanctioned rally. Arkhangelsky pleaded not guilty. He is outraged, wondering how the authorities can prosecute people who are not indifferent towards the misery of pensioners, Januzien oil workers and people with disabilities. I was accused of participation in the unsanctioned rally. I appealed this decision as I believe it is unlawful. The prosecutor had a pre-arranged decision on the 20 MCIs, and the judge had absolutely no hesitation regarding his verdict and penalized me for this amount despite the fact that I am retired.
On Friday, several media outlets received a statement from the artist Kanat Ibragimov, who was arrested following the dissenters' rally on April 28. Ibragimov says he is ready to commit suicide if nothing will be done about police brutality exercised against him. It is hard to confirm now whether the statement is legitimate, but it is known that Ibragimov indeed went on a hunger strike in the administrative detention wards, where he is held with other activists, Bakhadjan Torigozhina and Larisa Boyar. An anonymous social resistance representative who was recently released from the facility gave some details about Ibragimov's condition.
He was taken to an examination on May 3rd. We demand for a mass media access to Kanat's cell. If this will be ignored, we will commit suicide.
Reporters attempted to learn more details about the matter from the Almaty Internal Affairs Department. Unfortunately, the official representative doesn't appear to have a lot of information either.
I can't deny or confirm anything yet unless I verify this data first. Could you please give me a call tomorrow morning and I will provide you with more detailed information. On Friday, public activists held an emergency roundtable discussion at the NSDP office. Activists decided to establish a civil coalition in support of protection of those who were convicted for participation in the dissenters' rally. They also intend to address a letter to the city prosecutor to ensure that the artist is well and alive. Associates are convinced that Ibragimov was wrongly convicted. This is the second arrest and second hunger strike in protest against tyranny and unjust verdicts. It's worth noting that the well-known avant-gardist was not among the organizers of the rally on April 28, did not distribute invitations nor gave public speeches. Nevertheless, the judge, prosecutor and policemen didn't seem to take these facts into account. I believe this is unlawful because any person is free to attend and observe these assemblies. Moreover, he wasn't participating in this rally. You wouldn't see him giving applause in support. He only happened to embrace Mr. Mambetalin, that's it. What if he spotted Mr. Mambetalin and just came to greet him? How does it prove his accountability as a rally organizer? I strongly believe that allegations against him and Mr. Gazhina are unlawful.
Kazakh national patriots are once again raising the issue of the state language. Activists believe Kazakh is being discriminated against other languages and published an open letter on the internet.
Another wave of national patriotic discussions is observed in Kazakhstan. On Friday, a group of public activists published a letter with a concern about the Kazakh language. The letter addresses the parliament, government, constitutional council and political parties, including the oppositional ones. Along with the demands, the signatories included 10 questions. Here are some of them. Why has Russian become practically a state language, while Kazakh has been cornered? Why members of the government, deputy ministers and other state officials do not take Kazakh language tests? Why to this day people do raise the questions of the future, language and integrity of the Kazakh ethnic group are labeled as nationalists, national patriots and violators of the constitution. Meanwhile, just a week ago, the president himself answered all these questions on behalf of the government and parliament. During the annual assembly of Kazakhstan's people, he warned that the language issue must not become a subject of political speculations. Everything that needed to be done has already been spelled out in the constitution and the respective laws, stated the nation's leader. We have set it as an objective that by 2020, 90% of Kazakhstan citizens will master the state language, and first of all the young people, but under no circumstances anyone should be persecuted based on the language knowledge, either when looking for employment or getting necessary documentation or entering higher educational institutions. This is also the question of the constitution and laws. This is not the first 10-question appeal. 1.5 years ago, Kazakhstan's population hotly debated a so-called Letter of 138. In terms of style and theme, it was practically the same as the new one. However, the National Patriots' appeal produced no effect beyond a storm of emotions on the internet and in press.
The Great Feminine Makhjan documentaries celebrating 30th anniversary of Kalila Umarova's career were shown in Almaty on Friday. Both films marked the return of the population's interest to national history and specifically to the tragedy of 1930s, which claimed many lives.
The film depicts violent change in the ordinary life of Kazakhs and genocide during the collectivization. The film is currently generating some interest in Germany, and the creators even wanted to make a German copy. The audience was touched by a particular episode in the film, the story of literary scholar Makimtas Murzakhmetov, whose mother had to make a horrifying choice to escape from hungry wolves. Unfortunately, the scene was cut out of the film, as it was supposedly shines negative light at the Kazakh nation.
A group of convicts escaped Kazakhstan temporary detention ward late Thursday night. The police currently searches all vehicles in the Karaganda region.
It was established that the prisoners escaped after cutting bars on the window. The escaped convicts are young men 21 to 25 years old. All 5 of them are Kazakhstan residents convicted for various crimes, murder, theft and carjacking. Police forces in Karaganda and adjacent regions are searching for the fugitives. The Internal Security Department is conducting an official investigation against Kazakhstan DIA officials. A criminal case was initiated on charge of negligence, which could result in up to 5 years in prison.
Meanwhile, a trial of the AK-159/21 prison is still underway in Balkhash. Last summer, 16 prisoners died while attempting to escape from the facility. Special prosecution revealed recently that a body of another convict was found under debris. The investigation believes the escape was conspired by prisoner Imaev, who worked as imam in the facility. He convinced the management to build a shepo and then smuggled weapons inside the prison, inside construction materials.
To recap, on June 11th last year, 16 convicts attempted a mass escape from the AK-159/21 Balkhash city prison. 1 man was killed and 3 others injured in the ensuing fire exchange. The incident occurred in one of the industrial buildings which was occupied by the convicts. As soon as the assault of the colony began, prisoners blew up an oxygen tank, which caused the roof and walls to collapse, killing everyone inside. A criminal case was initiated against the prison management, now charged with omission of duty, resulting in severe consequences and facing up to 8 years in prison. The first court hearing took place behind the closed doors, since more than 100 prisoners were testifying as witnesses. Currently, it is the turn of the construction company director to present his testimony.
The verdict in the Sufis case will be left unchanged. The decision was made on Friday by the Almaty City Court. 9 activists of the local Sufi community were sentenced to prison terms ranging from 2 to 14 years last October, but their attorneys believe the matter to be strictly political and hope the Supreme Court will reverse the verdict.
During the morning session, prosecutor Respect Turshbayev reported there were no violations during the first instance court proceedings, which was objected by defense. According to attorneys, violations of the criminal procedural code norms were proven, however the judge had ignored them. There's no rule of law here, it is rather a rule of power. I believe there was an instruction not to cause any noise as Kazakhstan is about to host the Interfaith Convention. In other words, by changing its decision, the court would admit the injustice towards the religion followers. It is not about the fate of a man, but trade of politics.
Teachers and community leaders in southern Kazakhstan have addressed an open letter to the government complaining that the Religious Affairs Agency failed to re-register a single organization in the last year. This despite the ever-pressing issue of illegal confessions being active in the region.
In their letter, experts, human rights activists and lawyers are raising what they call an ever-pressing issue, namely the necessity to urgently and strictly re-register religious organizations. The law has the objective to complete the re-registration within the year, but we have not done so with any organization yet, not a single religious union, and we have a total of 45 religious denominations. It's a complicated task. According to the statistics, in recent years, young people are being actively involved and recruited into various sects. Activists believe that the imposition of fanatical devotion to religious rituals and symbols is damaging for youth. In large part, these claims are based on a situation in the south of the country where the school children miss classes because of the Friday prayer. School children's attention should be foremost devoted to education, not prayers but knowledge. No one needs prayers without knowledge. Those who attend Friday prayers are the very people who violate our peace. This is why they are weary. And in religion, those who are praying are supposed to be good-fearing people. However, the religious leaders are actively supporting children who miss classes to attend prayers in mosque. They believe religious kids can influence their peers in beneficial ways. If a child has pure intentions, a sincere desire to cleanse, I believe teachers should make an exception. Having attended mosque for the Friday prayer, the youth then will be able to positively influence his peers, teach them to respect older people. At the same time, the activists say the officials from the Regional Department of Education, Prosecutor's Office and other supervising agencies are either oblivious to the problem or ignore it altogether. Meanwhile, an entire settlement may participate in the ritual of casting out an evil spirit, the one according to Karabulak village residents that forces teens to commit suicide. Supposedly, only these measures may prevent future tragedies, says local imam and his fellow villagers.
A new consumer price hike is registered in Kazakhstan, say representatives of the statistics agency. Officials explained the situation with the recent increase of fuel prices.
The Hodak's family income is about $880 per month. The husband works while the wife is at home taking care of the baby. They cannot afford to pay for daycare. The apartment rent is over $400 and utilities eat up additional $80. The most unpleasant thing is that the price of utilities rises every month. I went to pay for utilities and noticed that compared to the last month, practically everything is more expensive now, in total for about $15. The electricity went up and we are paying more for heating, as well as sewage, water and natural gas. Milk, bread, vegetables and fruit for the baby are not luxuries. It seems it's impossible to be more economical, but oftentimes simple grocery shopping brings unpleasant surprises. One or another product always gets more expensive. In April, there was a small but noticeable increase in prices for groceries, eggs, meat and poultry, sugar, non-alcoholic beverages, pastry, fruit, fish and seafood, cheese, cottage cheese and butter. At the same time, statisticians noted decrease of prices for grains, potatoes, vegetable oil, vegetables and flour. Meanwhile, Kazakhstan citizens have to pay more for air and rail travel, as well as for healthcare and medical services, hairdressers and personal services, preschool and elementary education, restaurants, restaurants and hotels. Member of the parliament Svetlana Romanovskaya agrees with the Almaty resident. As a former leader of the consumer rights group, the parliamentarian has also noted that with the price increase, the quality of products is not necessarily improving. In reality, we have to adjust and switch to other types of food products, but of course, this is not a good solution, so we are looking for new markets, little bazaars. I always ask those who live here in Astana longer where they buy various products. We have to make adjustments. However, the main anti-monopolist of the country takes it for granted that the monopolist request for price increases will be satisfied. Further, to prevent further stress for the population, he suggests a creative approach. Now, if we are going to raise prices and rates, we will do it most likely not in spring but in summer during the vacation period, because people will notice increases during this time less than during other seasons. According to Peter Svoik, the prices will not drop, but only contrary, will rise and will do so much faster. In order not to starve to death, a person will need at least $400 per month and not $100 as per minimum subsistence rate, artificially drawn up by the government, the expert says. This extremely ineffective regulation of rates is eating monopolies in Kazakhstan. Utilities and electric energy is powerful multiplier as well. The state policy of price regulation is outrageous. The Natural Monopolies Agency is a very weak organization, both in terms of status and professionalism, and that's another reason. The customs union is adding to this naturally, and one of the significant reasons is the high, I would say, unjustifiably so doubled and tripled value of money and loans in the country. Very soon, little Milena will have to go to daycare, which means additional expenses for the Khodaks. The wife is planning to return to work in the fall because the husband cannot support his loved ones with his salary.
This is all we have time for now. Make sure to join us on Monday for the weekly news recap, Vlast.kz. Thank you for watching. Have a great weekend. Goodbye.